Hello, and welcome to our presentation. Today, we're going to look at the very hot topic of should we ban plastic items everywhere? Plastic is everywhere. It's a very cheap material that can be used in a variety of ways, which is probably why the goods and service industry uses it so frequently. These days, plastic bans are a very hot topic, specifically around plastic straws. It seems like every day there's a news story about a poor sea turtle or seal that died due to ingesting a plastic straw. To combat this, many restaurants and drink shops like Starbucks have moved away from using the plastic straw and try to do their part to reduce their carbon footprint. We have three solutions to address this plastic concern. The first one are beach cleanups. Plastic is one of the most common ocean pollutants today. As mentioned earlier, marine life is always affected negatively. Plastic straws are consistently included within the top 10 ocean debris collected by the International Coastal Cleanup. Plastic straws are rarely recyclable, requiring special facilities, and they almost always end up in a landfill or even worse, in the ocean. Over their lifespan, the straw breaks down into smaller and smaller, even microscopic pieces. Pieces so small that single-celled organisms and other marine life eat them. The plastic remains forever and then starts to back up the food chain. Shocking photos of straws in sea turtles' noses and in the stomachs of seabirds can easily be found online. The next option that we have is recycling. While the overall amount of recycled plastics is relatively small, 3.1 million tons for a 9.1% recycling rate in 2015, the recycling of some specific types of plastic containers is more significant. Water bottles are typically recycled at a higher rate, but unfortunately, that still leaves a lot of plastic going into the landfills into the ocean. The last option at hand is to ban certain plastic items. Plastic bans have been a very controversial topic, especially over the past year. Companies across the country have tried to enact bans on plastic straws or have enacted strict policies that force patrons to request a straw instead of automatically receiving one. Banning plastic for different alternatives that produce less waste definitely seems like a valuable option, but we will investigate the costs associated with all of these solutions in the next few slides. A beach cleanup seems like a great, easy way to make a difference when it comes to helping the environment with plastic pollutants. Once we take a deeper dive, we see that there are many more costs associated than originally meets the eye. First, we'll look at the fixed costs. Fixed costs remain constant no matter how many goods and services are produced. Fixed costs in this scenario would be the flyers to advertise the event, the supplies for the volunteers, such as sunscreen, insect repellent, first aid kits, water, and safety vests. And the last fixed cost here would be the hourly wages for the event's organizers. Altogether, these costs would total $447.44. The assumptions that we're making here are that we are buying supplies for 30 volunteers and that we are paying wages for 15 hours of the committee's work. The work was allocated as follows: 5 hours to design and copy the flyers, 5 hours to purchase tools and other essentials such as sunscreen or a first aid kit, and 5 more hours to recruit volunteers. That would be something like hanging flyers, recruiting in family and friends in any other way possible. Next, we'll look at the variable costs. Variable costs fluctuate depending on what services are produced. So in the beach cleanup scenario, we have two fixed costs. We have trash bags for the cleanup, and then the gas it will take to transport the bags to a waste management facility. The assumptions that we're making here are that 80 bags of trash are collected, and they weigh on average about 30 pounds apiece. We're also making the assumption that each truck can carry 20 bags in one trip, which means 2 trips for each truck. Waste management facilities will allow us to aggregate our drop-offs so that we may take advantage of a preferred pricing on a larger drop-off instead of 4 small ones. And lastly, we're assuming that trucks get 20 miles per gallon. Lastly, there are mixed costs associated with the beach cleanup. The two that we look at in this example are waste management facility fees and the truck rental fee. Both of these fees would total $271.30. All of these costs added together would total $854.74. Because this cleanup is an act done for the greater good, we may be able to avoid some of these costs through donations. For example, we may be able to eliminate the fixed cost of hourly wages if enough people volunteer to sustain the cleanup. Secondly, the waste management facility fee may be waived due to sponsorship of the initiative. With these costs eliminated, the beach cleanup would be $429.94. As mentioned before, recycling is an option, but it cannot be done alone. Currently, recycling rates are very low, and it doesn't seem evident that people are going to change their recycling habits. Even if people did increase their recycling rates, not much would be done from a long-term standpoint. Something needs to be coupled with recycling in order to make this a long-term solution. On the surface, a plastic ban seems like a huge effort, and that assumption isn't wrong. Legislation is a tricky thing to get passed, and it typically takes a long time to do so. There are a few costs associated if a retailer, such as Starbucks, was affected by a plastic ban. First, we would have plastic bags, which are a fixed cost. At market rate, it is about $15 for 1,000 plastic bags, which equals 1 cent per bag. The alternative is to offer reusable bags. Although they're more expensive at 61 cents per bag, they would eventually not need to buy as many because customers would get one with a purchase and use it over again. Next, we have plastic straws, which is typically the enemy when we look at a plastic ban. They're a variable cost in this scenario. They currently run about 4/10 of a cent. The alternative to using a plastic straw would be a paper straw or metal reusable ones. The paper straws are about 4/10 of a cent, the same as a plastic straw, and the metal ones are about 15 cents each. Plastic straws are a bit tricky since they tend to disintegrate quickly, so metal straws may be the way to go here. Starbucks may be able to spend less money on straws by giving customers incentive to bring theirs back in for additional uses, which would incorporate the bring your own method. Next, we'll look at plastic cups. Right now, the cost associated with plastic cups is about 13 cents a piece, and the replacement, paper hot cups, is about 12 cents a piece. This switch would save the company money and will be relatively easy since they do keep paper cups on hand for hot drinks. This means it would not be difficult to add the cold ones to paper as well, if that's feasible. In conclusion, beach cleanups will not solve the issue. From an environmental standpoint, the cleanup is taking place after the damage has already been done. Even after the items are collected and properly disposed of, they take between 500 and 1,000 years to decompose. From an economic standpoint, it's not a feasible option either. When we look at the total costs associated with this beach cleanup and the fact that it equals out to almost $900 per cleanup, it's crazy to think that beaches countrywide, let alone globally wide, would be able to afford such a task. The best option that we have here is to ban plastic. It does take more time to do so by passing the legislation, and it will take a little work up front on behalf of the retailers. But once they get into the groove and they have reusable items and eco-friendly items, it should be an easy switch to make at little cost to the retailer.